On page 334 of The Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes writes, "The mystics have taught that there is but one ultimate reality, and that this ultimate reality is here and now. The great mystics have seen through the veil of matter and perceived the spiritual universe. They have taught that the kingdom of God is now present and needs but to be realized." Please look at the screen and say the affirmation with me with conviction. I now drop the idea of becoming someone and realize that I am already a masterpiece, made in the likeness and image of God. I am fully awake and present to who I am, what brings me joy, the life I am creating with every thought, word, and action, and to the many ways God shows up all around me.
Go, Marcy. Oh. So this month, I'm asking you to imagine that you are receiving an invitation that's engraved in gold with your name on it. And the invitation is this: to let 2018 be the year in which you truly awaken to the life that is intended you by the spirit essence of who you are, that great life with all the beauty and wonder that is involved in this awakening. So the question is are you willing? And if you're willing to say yes, if you're willing to RSVP yes, then you're off on a new adventure, because we know the power of intention, right? So if you're willing, then just repeat after me. It is my intention that I am awakening fully to the wonder and beauty that Spirit has in store for me. All right, just feel that. Because it's all about awakening, isn't it? And so this entire month is about awakening to this higher truth with a focus on being in the present moment. And so one of the things that I guess I want to start with is this idea, which I wholly, and it's beyond believing that I know, is that spirit, the divine, whatever you want to call it, source energy, source intelligence, God, that presence wants more than anything for each one of us to experience the magnificence and greatness of who we are and what life has in store for us. That this is a benevolent universe, even though sometimes we may look around and think maybe not so much, but the truth is it is. And we are given free will because we're not automatons of the Most High. We're children of the Most High, and we are made in the likeness and image of that divine presence. So we have creative powers in our hands, actually in our minds, that are available to us. And it's so important to keep going back to that, because one of the things actually I've assigned to my foundations class for this week is to really clean up their language. In other words, to really be aware of what comes out of the mouth. Thoughts arise, and that kind of thing can, those things, they arise and then we course correct. But what comes out of our mouths is something that we can be much, much, much more mindful of. And therefore, be sure that what comes out is something that really serves. And if we slip, that's okay. We just correct it by saying an affirmation to replace it. So anybody else in for this? For cleaning up your language? And so this is how we can help each other. If we notice each other saying something that is not serving, and that goes for me, if you hear me saying something that's not serving, um, this is how we express love and support each other, is to notice that and point it out and say, would you like to maybe say that in a different way that would really raise the bar for how you live your life, so we can all help each other come more into the present moment and use the power of our word skillfully to really support ourselves. I love that. That just came to me in the moment. I'm going to invite you to do what the foundations class is doing as well. So here's what I know then is that we have a choice then. Life can be an adventure full of fun and excitement, or it can be something that we dread. But it all depends on how we tend to look at something, our perspective, the perspective that we take. And it's important to understand about how we're wired as human beings, that our minds um, have been conditioned by our culture, our families, you know, and and because they're conditioned, it's what, and I love the term that the Hindus and the yogic traditions use, and the Buddhists, they call it the monkey mind. The conditioned mind is the monkey mind, and it tends to be reactionary, and it tends to stimulate the stress response, right? It stimulates the stress response, and it all is based on the idea that we're feeling separate from our source, when all the while we're fully connected to the source of all that is. And the way that we move out of the monkey mind is, first of all, to recognize I'm in the monkey mind. If I'm stressed, if I'm reactionary, if I'm in, in fear or whatever, I'm in the monkey mind. Okay, that's okay. We don't have to judge ourselves or judge anybody else. We just simply go, okay, monkey mind. So it's a call for moving into the present moment, for taking a breath. And we're going to do a little process later called the body scan, and getting into our bodies and getting into the present moment. And if you have to, just, touch your heart or do something that brings you into the present moment and out of that trance, because it is a trance. The monkey mind is a trance state. Anybody realize that? It's a trance state that we can step out of, and we can step into a greater sense of awareness. And when we're in the monkey mind, our cerebral cortex shuts down. The stress response, it shuts down. That means that we are totally stuck in a very narrow point of view, and we're not able to see the greater reality, the broader reality of possibility and potentiality, because we are, as spirit beings that are inhabiting these bodies, we are connected into the universal mind of the divine, of God. We have access, infinite possibilities and potentialities. But that's when we're in a relaxed state. When we're in a stress state, we don't have that access. And that's what the beauty of meditation is, the beauty of the type of affirmative prayer that we teach, spiritual mind treatment, and all of the other journaling, all of these other practices that we do support us in returning to that sweet, sweet present moment of relaxation and peace, where we have access to universal mind and all solution. It's such an awesome thing to realize and to remember over and over again. So one of the things, Candace and I are taking a mindfulness class from Charlie Curtis, and one of the things we're asked to do is to stop several times throughout the day and take a 3-minute break, a 3-minute break to recenter, to get refocused in the present moment, so we can condition our minds more and more to be in present moment awareness. So there's another invitation for you, is to stop several times throughout the day. Every time you look at the clock, it might be a good opportunity just to stop, breathe, come into the present moment, let go of what is coming after, what came before, and just really be present to the amazing life that we get to live. When we do this, this is where miracles happen. Miracles happen in present moment awareness. Did you know that? If you didn't, you know it now. So I have a metaphor I'd like to use today. Um, it's water skiing. Any of you water ski when you were younger? Maybe you still water ski now? Yeah. Well, I grew up in South Florida, and I had a friend who owned her parents gave her and her brother a ski boat, a small ski boat. And there was a little lake that was close to us, so we would go out often and ski. And I got pretty skilled at it. I was able to do the slalom course and actually get up on slalom and that kind of thing. So those were in my early days. I did a little bit later too, in kind of the early part of our marriage. But the thing that I remember about water skiing is such a great metaphor for life is you first of all have to get over the fear of the boat pulling you and standing up. That's the first big hurdle. But once you're up, you can there's a wake that goes behind the boat, and you can stay right in the middle of that wake, and it's fairly calm. It's okay. But then you start seeing other skiers going over the wake and out and over the wake and out the other way. And it's like, oh, I want to try that. That looks pretty exciting. So the first time that I tried that, I'm sure, I can't remember the exact first time, but there's a ridge that you have to get over that is the wake. And if, if, if we're not totally present to it, if we're not completely in the present moment, what can happen? Yeah, we tumble, we fall, we get a mouthful of water, or whatever it is. And the key is to get back up and do it again, and keep practicing until you get it. And the thing is then once the skill is managed, then after a while it's just really easy. You just take a deep breath, you go over, and you're out. And actually, this water out here, and sometimes is even smoother than it is right behind the boat. And you're swinging out, and wow, adventure! And then it's time to go across the wake again to the other side. Woohoo! And back and forth. And it's a lot of fun. It's great, great fun once you get used to the whole idea. You can see the ridge of water here I'm talking about. Then there's some other things that tend to happen. If other boats go by and stir up the water, then you're out there and you think, oh, it's smooth, it's great, and all of a sudden here's this huge wake from another boat, and you have to, go over that. And isn't that a great metaphor for life, though? Is we set our course, we're overcoming obstacles, overcoming these wakes in life, navigating the wakes. And then there may be some other wakes coming other directions from other participants in this human journey. And we navigate those wakes. And the people who are skilled at navigating those wakes are people who are skilled at being in the present moment and not taking things personally, but realizing that all of this is an opportunity, this whole human experience is an opportunity to get more and more grounded in who we are in truth, in this present moment, and to trust that magnificent wisdom and intelligence that's within us, and to trust that the universe is truly for us, even with all of the wakes that are coming our way, or that we're maybe even deciding ourselves to go through in order to grow, in order to have a little bit more adventure and fun in life. So let's take a breath with that. So I know that Mark Nepo is an author that many of you are aware of. And he has a book called The Book of Awakening. And there's a beautiful passage in here that speaks so beautifully to what we're talking about, where we're talking about staying awake while navigating the wake. He says, I don't know if it is human nature or the way of life on earth, but we seldom become all of who we are until forced to it. Something in us rises to the occasion, a grace under pressure that comes forth when challenged. I have come to believe that we are destined to be opened by the living of our days. And whether we like it or not, whether we choose to participate or not, we will, in time, every one of us, wear the deeper part of who we are as a new skin. I'm going to read that part again because I think that's so great. So, and whether we like it or not, whether we choose to participate or not, we will, in time, every one of us, wear the deeper part of who we are as a new skin. He said, perhaps the greatest moment of shedding for me came as I was being wheeled to rib surgery. And so he goes on to describe how he was lying in a stretcher waiting, which seemed like a huge amount of time. And this is what was running through his mind, and he was also in fear. He could feel the fear. He could feel the stress response in his body, and the kind of the spinning that was going on with the Demerol shot. But this is what went through his mind. He said, "Death pushed me to the edge, nowhere to back off, and to the shame of my fears, I danced with abandon on death's face." I danced with abandon on death's face. I never danced as free, and death backed off the way dark backs off of a sudden burst of flame. Now there's nothing left but to keep dancing. There's nothing left but to keep dancing. There's nothing left but to keep dancing. It is the way I would have chosen, he says, had I been born 3 times as brave. So a moment when he was able to shed that fear, that conditioned stress response, and move to a higher state of peace and calm and joy, dancing on the face of death. Pretty powerful. And then he ends it with saying, we are often called further into experience than we'd like to go. How many have been called further into experience than they'd like to go? But this extra leap, and that's what challenges do for us, don't they? These experiences maybe that were not quite what we wanted, is they are great opportunities for us to make a leap in consciousness. Because it just goes back to that idea that it requires a different level of consciousness to solve a challenge than what created the challenge to begin with. So it requires us to continually take a leap into a higher state of love, a higher state of peace, a higher state of joy, into our divinity, into coming more fully from our divinity. So crisis as an evolutionary driver is a term that I learned when I studied with Barbara Marx Hubbard some years ago. And those leaps in consciousness is really what we're here for, ultimately. One of the main reasons we're here in this human experience, from the perspective of our souls. It's to that continued leap and awakening to who we are, that adventure of life. So I have a personal experience I'd like to share, because occasionally, actually it used to be more often than not until I found a few things that helped, but occasionally I get severe cramping in my legs and feet. And I've come up with all kinds of remedies. And the worst time is when it happens in the middle of the night. During the daytime, I can deal with it, but because I can just walk it out. But in the middle of the night, when that comes on me, I the stress response kicks in, and I can hear myself going, "Oh no, why me?" I go into the whole entire thing, and I get out of bed and disturb Dan and everything else, and my routine had been to go out into the kitchen, make myself a drink of apple cider vinegar and water, which is supposed to help cramps, and and a little bit of extra this stuff that has magnesium in it, and so on and so forth, and then I just drink up a whole bunch of extra water in case I'm dehydrated, and then I walk the house. I hobble actually until the cramps go away, and they eventually go away, and I go to bed. Well, that's a really that's a lot to have to put up with. And so it occurred to me not too long ago, what would happen if I stayed in bed and I was just really mindful with the cramps? If I could just really observe them and be a witness, I wonder what would happen. So I decided to experiment, because the thought was maybe I could do this. So I'm lying in bed, and I could feel the sensations running through my legs, and I can feel the muscles starting to cramp up, and I'm going, okay, breathe. And I remembered what I'd been learning about being mindful, being present, non-judgmental. I'm talking to myself, non-judgmental. I'm watching it. Um, and yeah, they got a little bit more intense at first, but then the interesting thing happened. Is really, all of a sudden, they started letting go and lessening and lessening. And pretty soon, the cramps were gone. They were gone. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was so easy. I mean, it was a little scary at first. I'm thinking, what if it doesn't? But I figured, well, if it doesn't work, then I can always get up and do my usual routine. But let me experiment with this. And the great teachers of meditation over the millennia have told us this. If you can just be present with something, and it doesn't mean you don't take action. I'm not saying that. But if you can be present, really present, in an accepting, non judgmental way with whatever's going on, then whatever it is that seems like it's a big, huge problem tends to resolve itself. This is the consciousness this is the muscle in me, the spiritual muscle in me that I'm really working on right now. And this has been a huge demonstration just to witness this taking place. The power of present moment awareness. Because in the present moment, when we're there, and science shows this, when we are relaxed, our cells reorganize. They reorganize back into a state of health. When we are stressed, our cells disorganize and break down. That's why there's so many health issues when people are in states of high stress for a long period of time. So, for your own well-being, for the happiness of your cells, it's important to take the time to do this, not only just in your meditation practice, but throughout the day, to stop and check in. How am I doing? Am I feeling relaxed, or am I feeling stressed? And bring yourself back to this beautiful present moment, to this state of relaxation, so that you are living from that God self, that God intended self that you already are. So again, it's not about something you have to become. I love this, the affirmation for this month. And the reason why I love it so much, it's a reminder that that's all that's required, is to come into the present moment and find out everything that we could ever need or desire is already there. We don't have to become something different. We already are it. It's recognition that we are that. And in that expanded state of consciousness, miracles happen. Miracles happen. So this brings me to the concept of spiritual community, and how powerful it is that we come together as community and together explore and support each other in these spiritual truths, in this higher awareness. Because it not only happens here on Sundays, see, this is the beauty about spiritual community. It happens one-on-one in your connections with each other. It happens in our classes. It happens in sacred circles. It happens in our workshops and retreats. There are just many, many opportunities to deepen into this present moment awareness, this divine state that we're all meant to live in. And the other part that's important is to realize how much each one of you really matter to this spiritual community. Because I'm not sure everybody completely gets it. Every one of you makes a difference. And here's a great little story that I think will point to that. Because you might say, well, who me? I'm not all that awakened. I don't know if you're thinking that or not, but just in case you're thinking that, here's a great little story to kind of lift you out of that. So just imagine that you're at a summer camp and everybody in the spiritual community is there, everybody's in a cabin. And you've been given the job of waking people up at 6:30 in the morning for the morning activities. And so you're thinking, well, I'm not really a morning person, but okay, I'll set my phone. I was going to say the alarm, but actually people set their phones nowadays, the alarm on their phones for 6:30. And so the next morning, the alarm goes off. You groggily reach over, turn it off, and go out and do your duty by ringing the bell, the camp bell. And even though you're still groggy, you're able to wake everybody up and move, everybody gets on with their activities. Each one of us, believe it or not, plays a powerful role in awakening everybody else in the community. We all play a beautiful role, whether it's our smile, our hug, some kind words, the gifts and talents that we offer the community, the volunteerism, the financial support, whatever it is, it makes a difference in our community. You make a difference. I really want you to hear that. It's very important. So I want to take a moment now and just give you an experience of a body scan, a great way to bring yourself into the present moment that you can do on your own at any time. So let's close our eyes and feel your feet grounded. In other words, let the ground support your feet rather than if there's any tension, just let the ground give you the support. And feel the support of your chair and just let yourself relax into the chair. And let your hands relax. Bring your attention now to your abdominal area, your low abdominal area, and just watch. Don't try to change your breath, but just watch the rise and fall of the breath. And now bring your attention down to your left toes. And you can wiggle them if you can't quite feel them right now. And just notice your toes. Your attention is on your toes. You don't have to change anything. Just simply be aware. And now the sole of your left foot. Again, just feel it. The top of the left foot. The ankle of the left foot, the left ankle. The calf muscle. The thigh. And down to the right toes. The right foot. The ankle. The right calf. The right thigh. And now you're aware of your lower abdominal area again in the front. Again, watching the rise and the fall of the breath. and the buttocks, the back of your lower body. And then moving up the back, just feeling the back as it touches your clothing and the back of the chair. And now the whole front of your upper torso, feeling the heart expand, and the throat, the back of the neck, the jaw, and just notice how it's, just by noticing it, you can notice whether it's relaxed or not. But we're just noticing now. The forehead, the top of your head, and the back of your head. And take a breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And so you're more fully grounded in your body. You're in the present moment. Your cells are delighted because they're reorganizing. You can imagine a smile on every single cell as it heals, as the healing process and what's normal for health takes place. The mind is calm and clear. You're available to universal wisdom. It's such a simple thing, and yet it's so profound. So profound. So let's remember that metaphor of skiing as we're moving through life. You can choose to not even get up on the skis of life and just stay on the shore, or you can go out for the adventure and navigate the waves, navigate the wake, and have so much more joy, knowing that all that is required to really navigate it well is to be in the present moment. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you for asking me to play today. It is always